atomic gigantification was a sweeping Japan nation when along came a dude with an ultra attitude, a Kamen rider who's the greatest kicker of Japan. And of all, man, life's too short now, baby, to not talk big now, baby.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to a brand new episode of Kaiju Conversation. I'm your host, Elijah, and joining me as always, my lovely co-host.
Hello, I am Rex, back once again, as always.
And here we are. Is this 6 weeks in a row?
Oh, gee, wow, it is the 6th week. Oh my god.
6 weeks in a row. This is a new record for us.
I know. And to think, just some time ago, we weren't even doing it for like half a year or so, was it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
God.
I think it was like 8 months, actually. It was
something
8
like
months.
that, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, we didn't do it for 8 months, and then we were doing like once a month, and then we were like, let's do 2 a month. No,
And then let's trial the October month thing. See how it goes, Maybe we'll do this again, maybe we won't.
And here we are, the mad lads we are, 6 months into being weekly. Now, don't expect this regularly.
Did you say 6 months in?
Did I?
I think you did.
Maybe the 6 weeks is starting to wear on me. But don't expect this regularly. It just, the cards fell this way and we're here.
Yeah.
And, it's fun. I'll admit, it's been a lot of fun. We've had some pretty solid outings here.
Yeah.
But it's a little tiring. I think my body is starting to get used to the caffeine because I drink 2 to 3 caffeinated drinks, 200 milligram caffeinated drinks.
Yeah.
So that's 600. You're told you can only really drink 400. Like earlier today, I drank 1 caffeinated drink just because it had 200 milligrams, and like I was feeling like I had drank 3. I was like, oh my god, I feel awful. It doesn't help that I don't eat either. Like I go like 13 hours without eating a proper meal.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so like it's pure caffeination. Like that's
taking
all I'm
fasting
on.
on a whole another level.
It is. And like I feel like my body's getting used to this caffeine. Like it's like nope, you're gonna hate tonight. We're gonna make you hate tonight. And here we are. We're recording later than ever, but we're here and we're gonna do an amazing job. Hopefully.
Yes, we shall see. The audience, however, will be the judge.
This is true. Now, I will say it's a little weird because, like, by the time this episode comes out, we're going to be 2 weeks into March, and we are currently recording on the third week of May. Yes, they both start with M. We're on the 3rd week of April. So this is like 3 weeks in advance. By the time this episode comes out, Kaiju Weekly will have made its return as a streaming show, a live stream show. Yeah. So Travis has the crown again. I can't touch his mighty crown of the weekly podcast, but we're doing this all edited, so I'll still take a little win there. But it's great to see them back in live stream form. Kaiju Ramen is trying to create more content. By this point, I will have been at AMA, and a bonus episode should be out of that, which is pretty exciting. It's funny because at AMA right now, we're scheduled to do a Kaiju Ramen live stream, a Henshin Men / Monster Island Film Vault episode, and I'm planning on doing a Kaiju Conversation bonus. So, like, we're going to have to talk about AMA 3 times, not including if we get interviewed by anybody at the con. So, it's going to be a busy weekend for me. I'm actually taking all of my recording software just to be on the safe side. We'll see how it goes. I don't know how it'll go. I know Travis is taking his recording equipment. I'm taking recording equipment. Nathan's taking recording equipment. It's like, dude, we're psycho. We're like podcasting on the mind.
Well, at least you're prepared.
This is true. This is very true. It's so weird because this is going to be the first year I feel like I'm going to cons as a content creator.
Mm-hmm.
Last year at G-Fest, we did have a guy who knew Kaiju Conversation take a selfie with me and hang out with me and talk about, the show. And I had a few people, like, when they heard I was a writer for Kaiju Ramen, they're like, "Oh, that's so cool. Like, can I shake your hand?" I was like, "Sure, I guess." But this year, like, I legitimately feel like I've been putting out effort. I just got promoted to publicist, production manager, and staff writer for Kaiju Ramen. So, like, I feel like I'm actually doing stuff in the company now.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, we've been podcasting so much. I've interviewed people. We're doing bonus episodes. We're doing live streams. We're doing so much, and it's just really weird to think right now we are like you and I were talking pre-cast about analytics, and I don't like to talk about analytics like that because I don't want people thinking it's just the views, it's just the numbers, because it's not. If it was just the views and numbers, I don't think we would be doing this as regularly as we were.
Oh, definitely.
And it's great to see, like, the podcast go from what it was back in 2019 to where we are now. I mean, I have to admit the recording schedule has gotten really messed up on my end. And I'm probably giving myself cardiac arrest in the future because of all the caffeine I drink for this. But we're like, it's fun. We have so much fun. And it's exciting to feel like I'm putting in effort and that people can listen. And I'm doing what the younger version of me only dreamed of doing, which was putting out content for Kaiju and Tokusatsu. So there's my soapbox. We love doing this. We're having a jolly old time.
Yes.
So I'm sure nobody wants to hear us like rant and rave how amazing we feel right now. Well, I feel. You probably hate your life. You're like, dude, shut up. I don't care.
Wow. What is this attack against me? I may be an a-hole from time to time.
Time to time.
But
that's what I thought.
I was going to say something, but I forgot what I was originally going to say.
I just threw you through a loop.
God damn it. Shut up.
You're going down a spiral.
Shut up. No. Oh my god, no. I get the joke. No.
By the time we're done, it'll be your birthday.
I hate you so.
Hey, these jokes just keep looping around into a ring form. Bitty, 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 bitty. That's what's going on in Rex head right now. There we go. All you guys just heard was bitty, 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 but it was Rex's like.
I hate you.
It wouldn't be a Kaiju Conversation episode without some ring references.
This is true, but usually it's meant to be me who says them.
Hey, we can loop back around to you.
Oh my f***ing god! Stop!
Sorry, it's just
I'm going insane. No, don't make another one. Don't make another one.
Are you saying I'm spreading a virus?
Oh my f***ing god!
So how are you today, Rex?
Minus your torture of bad jokes, your onslaught of them, pretty good for the most part.
Are you saying you're being tormented right now?
Yes.
Hmm. Are you saying you're developing a grudge?
Damn it, I saw the joke.
That was actually two Takashi Shimizu film jokes.
Yes, I saw.
Good. I was worried that you were going to miss it.
No, I saw. I've been keeping up with the conversations in the Discord.
Good. Because
I was there for the tormented conversation.
Fair. That's fair. It happens. It happens.
But speaking of J-horror,
by the time I'm done, you're going to have no pulse because you're going to be dead.
You shut up. We're moving on, okay? Tokusatsu and things that we've watched. I have actually watched a J-horror film recently. You know what it was?
What was it?
Ju-on, the beginning of the end. And I hope this is the beginning of the end of your terrible jokes.
That's funny. That was the 2015 film, right?
2014, I believe.
2014? Okay.
And then the 2015 film is a direct sequel.
Gotcha. I was going to say, I know that was either the last one or the second to last one.
Yeah. The last one is Final Curse.
Gotcha. And is it, so I don't want spoilers, but is it like the conclusion of the story?
So beginning of the end is actually a reboot.
So what does it ignore and what does it count as canon?
Oh, it's just like a complete reboot.
Oh.
It essentially it's another like Kayako and Toshio and Takeo story, but with new set of characters and a slightly different backstory. It's mostly the same backstory, but there's been some alterations.
Gotcha. Did Shimizu direct it too?
No. This is from Masayuki Ochiai, I think his name is, and he's done some other films like Shutter.
Okay.
But yeah, it was an interesting film. It's definitely missing something that the Shimizu Ju-on films had with their tone and also their lighting as well.
Mm-hmm. Would you say it was the low budget feel?
It's not quite a low budget feel, not in the same way as like the Ju-on White Ghost or Black Ghost spinoff movies were.
Mm-hmm.
But it is sort of similar to them, where it's a lot of scenes are kind of overlit, particularly like day scenes. Like there's a decent few horror sequences that take place in the day, including like the main one with Kayako crawling and all that, and like. Sorry. And that sequence is just way too overlit.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun though. There's a lot of callbacks, I'll say.
Is it like nostalgia bait though?
I mean probably, yeah. Because there's quite a few callbacks to The Curse and Ju-on the Grudge as well.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Since that film, you had The Final Curse, and then, correct me if I'm wrong, but the only thing since that was the 2018 American Grudge film.
2020 American film, and then Ju-on Origins.
It was 2020?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. I mean, I own it, but I haven't watched it yet. I haven't got to that point. I still have to watch The Grudge 2, and then The Grudge 3, and then The Grudge.
Yeah, all I need to watch now is Final Curse, The Grudge 2, and The Grudge 3, and that's about it.
Gotcha. Okay. Have you watched any other Tokusatsu?
I've been watching a bit more of Kamen Rider V3. I'm nearing the end of the first arc of that show, which is around episode 12 or 13.
Is it still a lot like Kamen Rider 71?
Yeah, it's starting to become. It feels like it's a bit more of its own show now that now that V3 himself has taken the reins over Ichigo and Nigo. since they're not really a part of it anymore. But they do come back in later episodes for a couple guest appearances.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, it's pretty fun. You've got Akiji Kobayashi returning, so he's always good fun. And interestingly enough, the kid from Return of Ultraman?
Yes.
Yeah, he's a main character in V3.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was surprised to see him. I saw him and I'm like, wait a minute, I've seen that hair before.
I feel like that happened with me it was another child actor. I think they were in a Godzilla movie and then they appeared in like an Ultra show or something. And I was like, wait a minute, I know that kid.
I mean, Kamen Rider had Ichiro from Godzilla's Revenge in the later half of the series.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. The more you know. Alrighty, well, that's good. And then, of course, you've got Shin Kamen Rider coming up. Hopefully, we'll both be able to watch that.
I want to see it. Oh my god, I want to see it.
So as of this recording, this is going to date it very quickly. They just announced that it was not not happening. They announced that it was happening, and tickets go on sale May 5th. So it's
some
through
have
Fathom.
already gone on sale.
Some have, but it doesn't go wide until May 5th, and it's through Fathom Events.
Yeah.
Which I don't remember. Was that the bad news for you?
For me, it's seemingly bad news, but we'll wait and see. Hopefully, I will get to see it somehow.
Mm-hmm. See, it's weird because I have a few friends that watch Kaiju Tokusatsu, to be specific. And they're like, do I watch Kamen Rider? Do I not? I haven't seen a single show. I don't know anything about it, but I've seen all the other Shin movies. Like, and like, it's this back and forth of what do I do? And I'm like, dude, I'm going. I'm going. I'm taking the day off. I'm taking the day off from work. I'm going to go watch Kamen Rider. I'm not going to know anything I'm watching, but I'm going to be able to say whether or not I liked it.
God, I want to see it so much. I literally watched 71 in preparation for it.
Yeah. Speaking of upcoming films,
ooh.
I do want to talk to you about something. We haven't talked about it yet. I read a few things you said.
Clearly, I think clearly we're going to be talking about the recently revealed Ultraman Blazer.
Do you actually? That looks really good.
Yeah.
So before we talk about the main thing I was talking
the elephant
about
in the room,
Ultraman Blazer actually looks really good.
Yes. Oh, that trailer was awesome, and yeah, from what I've heard from people who have been following a lot of the leaks, a lot of them are seemingly coming true, and we're in for a good show.
Like I'll say this. The Tokusatsu, like a lot of it's night, but it's really well lit and it's well shot. I was like, man, this looks really cool.
Oh my god, yeah, no, it is. I was actually really impressed by the lighting and the shot composition in the trailer. Like the sense of scale in some of like the low angle shots.
Yes,
is probably some of the best I've seen in Ultraman for a long while, you know.
And
like, compared to other new gen shows, and new gen has already been quite good with it. Like Ultraman Z had a lot of interesting like experiments with the cinematography, and that has the same main director as Blazer, and like Trigger and Deca also tried pushing the bounds. I don't think they were always as successful, but you know, there was still some decent experimentation with how are we going to shoot this. Doesn't always work 100% of the time, but I'd say generally Ultraman has been looking really good these past few years.
See, the way I understood it, coming from somebody who has only watched up to Ultraman 80, The way I've interpreted modern Ultra, specifically like Rewa, which is still new gen, I get it. Z was like peak. Trigger was okay. Decker was not nearly as good as the other two, but Blazer looks good. That's how I've understood it. I could be wrong.
The general consensus is that Trigger kind of bad. Decker started off real strong, kind of mid by the end.
Okay. See, I don't know.
I thought Trigger was okay. I thought it was okay. Decker, I have the same opinion as everyone else on that. It started off banger, kind of got mid at the end.
Gotcha. See, eventually I'll watch it, but correct me if I'm wrong here, but I was reading that Ultraman Blazer is actually going to be the first Ultra show that's like simultaneously broadcast like around the world and localized.
So the past few Ultra shows have been simulcast in English territories, around with an English subtitled version releasing around the same time as the Japanese TV airings. Mm-hmm. But I think now they're simulcasting it in like more regions, like including like China. I think they're simulcasting it for, which is good. And on because Ultraman has been very, very, very successful in China in like the past year or so.
I read that it was doing better than Disney.
Yes, exactly.
Which is great. I love that.
Oh, that's fantastic for the brand. And hell, it's probably part of why we can get a show like Blazer this year, honestly. Because all the like Ultraman is like just like Kamen Rider and Sentai has been like plagued by like all like the toy gimmicks being so in your face over the past few years. And Blazer, seemingly Bandai stepped back a little bit. They still got their toys in there, but in a lot more limited capacity. And, you know, given for an anniversary season, this is very standalone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like even beyond Blazer, recently Ultraman Z has come back with an English dub.
Yep, and Blazer is supposed to be getting an English dub as well.
I thought I read that. I thought I read that Blazer was going to get an English dub, which is really surprising. I don't know if it's coming out the
same time as the simulcast. I don't know 100%. It might be a little later. Whoever's listening, you'll have to fact check that.
But like that's amazing. Like we haven't had Ultraman dubs since
like the movies.
Right, and even before the movies, like shows didn't get it until Malaysian dubs for like Mebius, right?
Something like that. I don't know enough about that personally.
I think Mebius has an English dub, but it was never like
Malaysian dub of a couple shows. I just don't know how official they all are.
Right. But prior to that, like really the only Ultra show that was like released in America with an English dub was Tiga, which was the 90s.
Mm-hmm. I mean, 66 as well had a dub.
Right, but that was decades prior to Tiga.
Yeah.
Ultra 7 also had an English dub in the 90s through TNT.
Ultra Q was supposed to get one.
Actually, it does. It has two dubs, but one of them got shelved. The other is like partially lost. Same with Ultra 7. And then, you know, Ultraman, of course, has the classic English dub.
Yeah.
But the fact that Z and Blazer both are getting English dubs. I mean,
they were also doing dubs for the Ultra Galaxy Fight series as well, to be fair.
Right. But that only adds up to about 45 minutes of content.
Yeah, something. I mean, the latter two are about an hour-ish, hour and a half-ish or so. But, like, nonetheless, this is still great news, and Blazer looks awesome. Like, I'm genuinely pretty excited for Blazer.
Likewise, and I think I'm starting to understand why we haven't got any word about the recent Ultraman stuff coming to disc, because I don't think Tsuburaya is done with it yet.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, however, I'm still wishing and hoping that we get more Ultraman.
Mm-hmm. So back to the elephant in the room.
Yeah, so Minoru Kawasaki has a new film coming out. It's a UFA, right? That's what we're talking about?
I feel like there was something... Don't get me wrong, Kawasaki films are awesome, but I feel like there was something else you were mentioning, something like Hollywood related.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So we got the title for GAC.
GAC, as you are still calling it.
GAC to Biff, the Battle for Earth.
I mean, honestly, I don't blame you because I don't really like this new title.
So, Legendary released a teaser for the new untitled Monsterverse film.
Yes, Monkey Business, which was my preferred title.
Yeah.
Just so we all know.
I liked GAC because I could make fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we got the title, which is Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. So, like, it's not Godzilla X Mega Gearus G Annihilation Strategy, which sounds awesome. And it's not Godzilla X Mechagodzilla, which sounds amazing. It's Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. Never have I ever heard a more superhero title for a non-superhero movie.
You see, I thought it was a Star Wars title. I saw like videos I remember like waking up and seeing like Godzilla X Kong The New Empire, like a notification for like a reaction video to it. And I'm like, what? What is this, some fan project? And like eventually a few minutes later I go on Discord and I'm seeing a bunch of discussion about the Monsterverse and I'm like, wait a minute. And so I go on YouTube and I see it and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. So, do we want to kind of break it down real quick and talk about it?
Sure.
So, it's only a few seconds long. We start off with like a throne with this skinny Kong-looking monkey sitting on it, kind of like Thanos did for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And it zooms out and it's like a boneyard, and then it ends with Godzilla and Kong's skulls lit up in blue and yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And then
their roars.
Yeah, and then it cuts to Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. And then it cuts to a close-up of the monkey's face with blue eyes.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yep.
So, I'm just going to... the title is stupid. It's
agree.
really stupid. I know people...
I know a lot of people were complaining about Godzilla and Kong as a title. But I don't know, man. I thought it was simple and nice.
Yeah, and see, here's the thing. Like, people have been having a discussion of what X means. Is it against? Is it versus? Is it and? I know Kamen Rider uses X as cross. Is it Godzilla cross Kong? I mean, I've made a joke.
Only Kamen Rider Z cross, whatever. Kamen Rider X is just Kamen Rider X.
But there's another, I don't remember, but it's another Japanese production that uses X as cross.
I don't know.
Somebody tried to argue Fast X, which X means 10 in that case. It's not Godzilla 10 Kong. Or it could just be X. Like,
clearly it's a ship.
I've made the joke it's a porno. I have made that joke.
I mean, there is no way Adam Wingard didn't sign off on that thinking it at least once.
Considering
have you seen his YouTube profile picture?
It's of them kissing.
Exactly.
So, it's weird, like, already, like, right away, like, the whole idea of this movie is not a versus movie, which I'm not a fan of, because I made it very clear in our Godzilla vs. Kong episode, both of them, all three of them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the idea of Godzilla and Kong fighting together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I don't care if they're both heroes. I like my Godzilla and Kong to be enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's my thought that here's my opinion of what the plot's going to be. Godzilla's dad didn't die. Godzilla's dad went to get milk and never came back. Kong's wait, did I say Godzilla?
Yes.
Kong's dad went and got milk. He didn't actually die. Kong's mom had a side piece that was helping Kong's mom raise Kong. They both died. Kong grew up. Now that Kong's in the Hollow Earth, lo and behold, Kong's dad actually moved to the Hollow Earth. Now that he's old, he's grumpy. And Kong woke him up, so now he's a grumpy monkey. And Kong's dad knows that Godzilla killed, like, their entire species, according to the novelization or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Never once has that been established outside of the novelization that breaks canon with everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So Kong's dad wakes up, finds out that Kong and Godzilla are buddies. Kong's dad gets angry and, like, tries to beat up Kong, and then Godzilla comes, and that's what it is. It's a fight. And Kong's dad's trying to establish that he's king, not Kong. And that's the movie. It's about abusive parents that leave their children and then come back hundreds of years later to beat their children.
Already, there are more interesting themes there than the entirety of Godzilla vs. Kong 2021. So, congratulations, I guess.
Yeah. If that becomes true, I'm gonna hate myself.
Yeah, the funny orangutan is interesting, I guess. I wasn't expecting the next movie to be about, the big bad guy is another monkey.
Right, and that's the issue. So, like, jokes aside, the movie's villain is what people are guessing is like an orangutan-ish kaiju. I
mean, it's seemingly confirmed by KDM, so
right
as an orangutan.
It's a tall, slender monkey, which I have a theory, because KDM's hinted he has powers, and I'm just going to tell you what I think it is right now. He knows how to, like, be in the Hollow Earth, and I think he has lightning powers.
Oh yeah, it's probably lightning powers.
Like, I feel like since Kong couldn't have it, they're going to make the villain have it.
Yeah.
And, like, he's a primate that, like, has had hundreds of thousands of years to, like, become the ultimate, like, king. And I think that's really, really boring.
Mm-hmm.
Kong, I get. He doesn't have crazy villains. But Godzilla is, like, out here fighting pollution monsters and dream demons.
Yeah, and that's my issue. That's my issue with it, is, like, I know a lot of people were advocating for, like, crazy Godzilla monsters like Destroyer, Space Godzilla, Biollante, Gigan, etc. And while I don't necessarily want any of them per se, I would have preferred something different,
Mm-hmm. And I was reading, I was scrolling through Twitter, and one person was quoting, so Legendary released a new plot synopses, which basically is saying there's a new hidden secret in the Hollow Earth that explains Skull Island and the Monsterverse.
I swear they've said that for like the past 2 or 3 movies.
Yes, they basically, it feels like they have. This person said, I really feel like they should have held off on Ghidorah till now. And I agree. Like,
yeah, honestly.
I feel like Ghidorah was the biggest bad this universe has and had.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
I mean, he was literally the villain of 2 films, so yeah.
So, like, there's no, no matter what this orangutan does, I don't think it can, like, make it like the whole world's gonna end.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that'll happen.
I mean, even the new Empire title sort of implies some sort of like army. Even if he has some sort of like kaiju army or something stupid like that. Like Ghidorah kind of already had that in his own right with like the 17 Titans that he woke up, or no, whatever. Doesn't matter the number.
Yeah, I don't know. It disappoints me because like you said, it's been the same story for the past like 2 movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like it feels like they're trying to world build, but they just keep.
But they're not actually world building. They're just adding the most vague of details possible. There's not much of a real world here.
It would be like if Star Wars just kept saying a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and they never established the galaxy.
Yeah.
Like if Star Wars was just Tatooine and like the Death Star and like one other planet, you'd be like, this isn't a galaxy. This is like 2 planets and a space station.
Yeah.
But they like go to different planets. There's different aliens everywhere. Like they talk about all these places. It feels like a whole universe.
Yeah.
Godzilla, like the MonsterVerse is just
it's a Godzilla and Kong crossover franchise. That's what it is. It like let's stop pretending it's an actual full MCU type universe for giant monsters. It's not.
It's not. I mean, look at their spin-offs in air quotes. The Apple TV Plus show and Skull Island anime. Both take place in between films to establish what happened in the films.
And both are tied to the 2 main monsters of the franchise. One is a Godzilla show, the other is a Kong show.
And like they're not like they don't expand upon the other kaiju.
Well, I don't know. It sounds like the Godzilla show will have it. From the sounds of it, at least, it sounds like it will have other kaiju, I think.
That's what we're told, but like
we'll see. We will. I suppose we don't have any trailers. We don't really know much about it outside of what KDM has said. So,
and I don't know. It just I'm finding. I know it's like the idea that I'm like just the MonsterVerse hater, and he's.
I mean, look, if people really want the MonsterVerse to actually keep going, then the MonsterVerse is going to have to build a world.
It does, exactly.
Because I don't think it'd be able to sustain itself on just a constant, like, Godzilla crossover with Kong again. We'll have a Godzilla or Kong solo movie now. And, we'll have them cross over again. It can't sustain itself.
It can't.
There were circumstances that led to GVK being as much of a success it is. I suspect that GXK will not have the same success. I'm actually very curious to see how well it does financially.
Likewise. I just it's like to me, it's like since Avengers Endgame, I've been marveled out. I've watched 2 of the movies, and I've watched 3 of the movies and half of the show. A show.
Yeah.
Part of it is I don't want to sit and watch like 64 episodes of TV shows to understand what I'm seeing in a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
I don't have the time. I can't even finish Ultraman 80.
Which is more important.
Right. And I watched Spider-Man No Way Home. That was like the epilogue to Phase 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched Doctor Strange and I watched The Eternals, and that's been it. Mm-hmm. I can't find. I want to see Moon Knight. I want to see Werewolf by Night, and I want to see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. But beyond that, I'm like, I don't really care. Like,
yeah.
I find myself having trouble because to me, like, I grew up on the MCU. I saw my story conclude, and it's funny, like, Iron Man is my favorite MCU character, and now that he's gone, I'm like, I don't really care. I don't really care. my MCU is done. And that's kind of how the Monsterverse feels. Now, granted, I'm more of a Godzilla fan than a Marvel fan. I will forever go see anything Godzilla related, even if it's an anime, even if it's a TV show, or I'll go watch it.
Yeah, I'm a slave to the corporate franchise of Godzilla as well.
So I will go see GXK, but Godzilla vs. Kong came out. That was what we were building up to. The collision, I think they said it even in the synopses. The two epic titans colliding on a path of destruction. That's what I was here for.
Yeah.
When they announced Godzilla vs. Kong, that was the biggest thing ever. And now it's came and gone. And Wingard, in my opinion, threw it out the window. And here we are, with him back again, somebody who I don't think understands genre franchises or Japanese products, trying to do it again, except this time, he's not even following the hype of the two biggest film icons colliding. Now it's they're buds, and they're here to fight a villain.
It just feels like leftovers.
Mm-hmm. I do agree with your statement of you're curious how the film's going to perform because you don't think it will perform well. I don't think it will. I feel like it'll come out and people will say, this is pretty awful.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's pretty shallow. It doesn't have a lot. It's boring. It's bland. Because I genuinely don't think Wingard can make a good franchise movie.
Yeah. And I mean, the success of GVK was lightning in a bottle because of just all the factors with COVID and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That just coming out at basically the perfect time for itself, you know?
Mm-hmm. And if you didn't notice, GVK doesn't get a lot of recognition now. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
It got a lot of buzz when it came out. But once COVID stopped being a thing, they didn't even in promoting for movies that saved cinema and coming back to the movies, nobody talked about GVK.
Yeah, a lot of people undersell that. The only people who would ever bring it up were Godzilla fans.
Mm-hmm. And it's true. It is absolutely true. Godzilla vs. Kong saved theaters.
Yeah.
When it came out, plenty of articles were written about how it saved theaters. It was the movie to bring people back to theaters.
Yeah.
But after every other blockbuster came out, people were like, oh, look at Marvel, look at DC, look at all of this stuff that saved theaters. What's Godzilla vs. Kong? It was okay, I guess we've moved on.
Yeah, I mean, that could also just be a product of monster movies kind of getting just being seen as lesser.
People don't understand monster movies.
It's true. It's true. They are undervalued by the general population. So
I mean, I feel like even monster movies like Frankenstein are undervalued because
oh no, 100%.
The whole idea of there's humanity in this monster and people don't see that. That movie, that what it says in that movie is how that movie is viewed. People don't look at the fact that the monster has humanity. They just look at it as a universal monster movie.
Yeah.
But nobody's going to really overlook Godzilla X Kong: A New Empire because it's not going to have anything to really overlook.
Well, at least we can agree on that.
But Godzilla Zero, that's exciting.
Anyways, we've talked a fair lot, and we haven't even brought up our main topic today.
Yeah, because I didn't tell you what tokusatsu I watched.
Oh, yeah. That's true. So did you watch any?
That's a great question. I don't really remember. We've been talking so much about news that I kind of forgot if I watched any Wait. It's Star Wars month.
Did you watch the second Star Wars movie?
I did. I watched the second Star Wars movie, and man, it's
that's
so
awesome. What's it called?
Well, if I remember right, they actually went like on a they started the war, and like they went into space finally. Like the first Star Wars was establishing like a problem between two clans, and now we actually go into space.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the beginning of a war in space, and I'm trying to remember
a planetary war, you could say.
Yes. God, what movie is it?
It's Star Wars 2.
I mean, yeah, but it has a different title. It's not Star Wars 2 because they wanted to differentiate itself. No, they wanted to differentiate itself from the Hidden Fortress.
Oh, okay, yep. Makes sense.
Yeah, because like they knew that like the genre change was so big that they wanted to like loosely connect it, but not really.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
What was it called, Rex? Can you help me?
Well, I don't know, but I did watch a small film. I don't know if this is the one you're talking about, but I watched like a Toho film called The War in Space from 1977.
That's right, because yes, Hidden Fortress was Toho as well. That's right. War in Space was Toho's second Star Wars movie.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I watched it today. Oh, my God.
And it's Tokusatsu. Yeah, that's what I watched.
Hey! So, yes, we are covering The War in Space today, in case it wasn't already obvious.
The second Star Wars movie. The second real Star Wars movie.
Yes.
So,
I mean, hey, it did come out in Japan before the original Star Wars did. So
it did. It came out in.
Technically, these are the first and second Star Wars movies in Japan.
I thought in general they were.
Shut up.
So what we have here is kind of a compilation of like 3 different stories into one. Do you want to talk about the movie, or do you want to talk about like the development prior to?
Let's just quickly sort of begin on the development of this movie, I'd say.
Okay. So we have 2 Tanakas being producers here, by the way. So I'm just going to say the Tanakas. Both had wanted to do Star Wars from when they saw it. And special effects director Teruyoshi Nakano also wanted to do a Star Wars film when he got to see it in Hawaii. Or no, he saw it in Japan, but it was like a special screening months prior to the actual Japanese release.
Yeah, because the Japanese release didn't happen until 1978.
Right.
Whereas
July
this film came out in
77. Yes, December 12th?
17th.
December 17th, 1977, yes. Just a few months after the original Star Wars came out, too. So they wanted to make a Star Wars movie, but the development of the film started as a sequel to Battle in Outer Space.
Yes, which in and of itself was a loose sequel to The Mysterians.
But also while developing War in Space, they, at one point, connected it to the 1963 Toho film Atragon. So much so that they actually reused the concept of the Gotengo and renamed it and redesigned it to the Goten. Goten?
I mean, Goten. But I mean, there is a lot of material that just calls it the Gotengo, so some
this is
people
true.
Consider it the Gotengo, some people consider it its own separate thing. I say it looks like the Gotengo, it drills like the Gotengo, it's basically the Gotengo.
It is.
And in the original script, the main pilot's name
is Jinguji.
Jinguji, who was the commander of the Gotengo in Atragon. So
So, I mean, it's kind of funny because this film, like, it's a Star Wars ripoff. It's a spiritual sequel to Battle in Outer Space.
And in some regards, it's almost like a remake, a sci-fi space remake of Atragon in certain ways.
So, like, this movie has a lot.
Yeah.
For what little there is in this movie, there is a lot. So, yeah, the film, there was a 60-day window from the development to its release.
Yep.
Which is almost as crazy as Godzilla vs. Megalon.
I mean, from what I read from, I believe, the assistant director, the actual, like, the amount of days that they were shooting, not including, like, days where they weren't shooting, just straight all the days that they were shooting on amounted to less than a month.
I mean...
which was apparently equal to about what Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla was, roughly.
That's interesting. Speaking of Mechagodzilla, you might be able to tell me. I know I'm jumping into the film, but did they reuse one of the filming locations from that movie in War in Space? The building that the pilot, the skipper, the captain was at? Was that reusing the same? It looked the same.
I couldn't tell. There were definitely a few moments where I thought some things did look familiar, and I did find out that because there were a couple miniature explosions early on during like the aliens' first attack, where I'm like, is that stock footage? And I looked it up, and yeah, there's a bit of stock footage from The Last War, Conflagration, Ibra, and or not Conflagrations, Japan Sinks and Prophecies of Nostradamus, and Battle in Outer Space.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and sorry, that kind of threw me through a loop. I mean, you're right. There was stock footage used.
Maybe there was some similar filming locations to Terror of Mechagodzilla or Godzilla versus. Maybe, I'm not sure. My research didn't really mention any of that. The only real made significant connections to Godzilla in my research was just the fact that the director of this film, Jun Fukuda, and also I believe, and both of the writers had been attached to Godzilla 84, or like a scrap version of 84. So in 1977, I think it was Resurrection of Godzilla, I think this was called.
Yes.
Where Jun Fukuda was attached to be the director, and Ryuzo Nakanishi was intended on, writing the screenplay. That project fell through, and eventually they got transferred to this film. But then also one of the other writers, Shuichi Nagahara, went on to later write some of the other later Godzilla scripts, which eventually evolved into 84.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah, so this movie, the production schedule sounds very much like a Fukuda film. Mm-hmm. Infamously, Godzilla vs. Megalon had 3 weeks to film.
Yeah.
And like a month for post-production. There wasn't even a script developed. However, unlike Megalon, War in Space did have a script.
Yeah. But even then, it's like it had a script, but like Megalon had like a production cycle of like what, 3 or 4 months? Was it 3 months?
I want to say it was 3 months.
Yeah, whereas this would have been like about 4 months, because I think the first script, 4 maybe 5 months, because I think the first script for this came in mid-September. I want to say was when the first draft.
I want to say it was September 12th. The first draft.
Around that.
The second draft and what became the final draft was
13th,
October 12th. September 13th?
Yeah.
And then it was October 12th when the final script was submitted.
Yeah, and then December 17th release date. That is a short production time span.
Mm-hmm. Now, and I will say, it feels that way. I definitely felt it throughout the film. This is where I would say I'm going to go into the film if you're ready to talk about. Okay. So right away, we're introduced to a very 70s-esque feel. The score in this movie sounds very 70s-esque. Mm-hmm. Another movie that this reminded me of was Legend of Dinosaurs and Monster Birds, a Toei production that features a very 70s-esque soundtrack, which I believe came out in 1977 as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, around that time.
And we are introduced to our group of characters that we're going to follow throughout the film in a very Top Gun-esque feel.
Yeah, that was my immediate thought. It was like, Top Gun? Wait, this predates it.
So maybe Top Gun was inspired by the war in space.
Yeah, definitely.
So our main character, I guess he's our main character. There's not really a main character in this movie.
Yeah. The closest thing to one is a man named Miyoshi,
who has been training in America for 2 years, right? It was 2 years?
I mean, he was working in the UN for some time, amount of time.
And he went to America, and he was brought back just in time. There was some weird, wasn't it electromagnetic pulses?
Yeah.
That were like interrupting broadcasts, and they were trying to investigate. We're introduced to the rest of our characters. The head of the Japanese branch of the UN, who really, after like the first 30 minutes, becomes irrelevant for the rest of the film.
Yeah.
Our Han Solo of this film, and his love interest, who he's engaged to. But very early on, we discover that she has a thing for our main character, but because she's engaged, she's not like venturing onto that.
Yeah.
And then like that so you have your love triangle. And that's who we kind of follow throughout the film, but there are a ton of side characters that have plenty of screen time to also add in. Here
like
we
Kamen Rider be free.
Yeah. I'm excited. When we get to the cast and crew of this film, I have so much written down. Like this cast has a lot going on for it. So from here we're introduced to the problem. In a very the Transformers the movie Unicron appears out of nowhere feel. As our main characters are in the UN base in Japan, a broadcast comes in.
From a space station known as the Terra.
Which, that sounds familiar. Was that a callback to anything?
I don't know. Kind of.
I felt like...
Probably a generic name, honestly.
It's the name of the planet in Gamera versus Guiron. That's why I remembered it. Planet Terra.
Huh.
I guess you didn't pick up on that.
It's been a while since I saw Guiron.
I mean, fair enough. But before all this happens, like, there's a few minutes of, like, establishment of they're welcoming him back to Japan, and, like, we find out the two are engaged, and, like, that's kind of, like, while they're at the bar, they get a call to go back to the base.
Yeah.
While they're in the base, they get a call from the station, like you said, and we have a character saying that something's going on, and a giant ship attacks the station, and the
communication has been lost.
So then it's like, okay, we have to go to space and figure out what's going on. Don't they figure out that the source of this is on Venus at this point?
I don't remember. Sometimes listening to the dub was kind of... I couldn't always make out what they were actually saying. So...
Fair. So I'm pretty sure they discover they have to go to Venus at this point. They find that the source of the transmissions are coming from Venus.
Mhm.
And they have to go to this scientist / captain who designed this ultimate battleship to finish building it, to launch and go after the enemy and find out and figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
At this point, we're introduced to our Jinguchi character,
Mhm.
who
Professor Takigawa.
who is interrupted by this American after he gets off the phone with the Japanese UN representative, head of the branch. He gets off the phone after being told that the scientist dies. He appears magically at his house, where he's like, "You got to finish the Goten. It's either you finish it or you have to give me the blueprints, and the UN will finish it."
Mm-hmm.
And the funniest thing happens here. Our Jinguchi character offers the American scientist a cigarette.
Uh-huh.
And he lights it and he's smoking. And he says, the real I don't remember his name, but he's like,
Real Schmidt.
The real Schmidt is dead. He would never use a lighter with his right hand. And I'm like, oh my God. Really? Really? I actually laughed at that because it's like, really? That's what we're going with? This is some real James Bond stuff.
I mean, hey, I'm all for it.
So then we find out that the aliens have infiltrated humanity, Final War style. But it just so happens that our main cast is going to his house at this current moment and busts in and saves the day and kills the alien invader, only to find out he is an alien.
Yes.
And this is where the call to arms is, and our Jinguchi character goes to the island that the Goten is based at and finishes it.
Yeah.
While
Meanwhile,
this happens,
the aliens begin to invade the Earth.
Which is where we got stock footage.
Yes.
But there are a few new shots in this too, of miniatures, which was kind of nice to see. They called these, the director, Jun Fukuda, called the spaceships, I believe, flying eggs is what he called them. They're like these little round balls that just like go pew, 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 pew.
Yeah.
And they
I think
destroy.
Some supplementary material calls them like Hellfighters or something like that.
Yes, that's the actual name. Fukuda just called them flying eggs because he thought it was funny.
I mean, that's basically what they are.
Yeah. So they're like, we have to get this done in 3 days. It's never really established how much they had left. But
I mean, they say that it was near complete. Like beforehand, so...
But, like, we don't get any development for, like, why it was stopped or scrapped or whatever it was.
Look, man, this is Atragon Light, okay? Who needs explanations?
So...
Who needs motivations?
Fair. So, like, the spaceships eventually find out that this is the island that the Goten's at, and they're just, like, blasting it.
Yeah.
They're waiting on one more crew member to appear. And this is where I need to establish that I'm going to get a lot of flack for this episode. Because Nathan, podcast friend, fellow podcaster, does the Monster Island Film Vault, is obsessed with this movie, so much so that one of his characters in his show is Jimmy from NASA, taken from this...
I was going to ask you about that. I was going to ask you if Jimmy from NASA in this movie is where that was from.
Yes.
Because I heard them say Jimmy from NASA. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
So that whole character is from this movie. In Nathan's podcast lore, Jimmy from NASA didn't actually die on the fight at Venus. He just escaped. And now is the producer and, like, watches over Monster Island. Nathan's gonna be pissed when he finds out we covered this movie and he was not invited. I'm gonna get a message. Why didn't you invite me to this podcast? I am the ultimate fan of the war in space. And to that I say sorry, Nathan. We're recording at 6 a.m. I don't think you want to be up. So Jimmy from NASA has to like parachute in and then like swim under the island to get in. And I guess he accidentally leaks how the aliens can get in. And as they're finalizing the Goten, the aliens just so happen, movie magic, to invade the base as they're reaching completion.
Yeah.
And they succeed. They kill all the people that are like the crew, like the ground crew. And then they get into the Goten. And as they're like, they have the main, like, bridge crew, like, trapped. They're like, don't move or we'll kill you. Our group of characters just so happens to walk in and go pew, pew, pew and kill all of them. They have the best timing in this movie.
I know, right?
This is...
Look, it's just one of Kamen Rider V3's 26 secrets.
This movie is just full of plot conveniences. But it's fine. It's fine. It's Toho Sci-Fi Ega. Like, what are you going to expect? Godzilla somehow got magneto powers. Yeah, it's going to happen. So, from here, they launch the Goten. The Goten absolutely obliterates the alien fleet that's, like, destroyed the world, I guess. Real Final War stuff. You can't tell me Kitamura did not take inspiration from War in Space. Or at least, like, understood what Showa Sci-Fi Toho stuff did.
I mean, there's a good chance he saw this film, honestly. I mean, it was pretty successful at its time, from what I understand.
Didn't it have over, like, 1 million...
Roughly 1 million people saw it in theaters, so...
Which was pretty big, considering... what was Terror of Mechagodzilla's numbers? Wasn't it, like...
Oh, Terror of Mechagodzilla's were real low.
It was the lowest in the Godzilla franchise until City on the Edge of Battle.
Yeah. 970,000.
So, a little more than Terror of Mechagodzilla. But even, like, that was considered really bad for a franchise like Godzilla. But considering, like, War in Space was this brand new IP, I mean, granted, they never planned to go anywhere with it. But, I mean, the fact it hit 1 million was pretty good for the time. Especially considering at this point, Japanese cinema was dying.
Yeah. It was in a bad state.
So, the Goten obliterates the alien fleet, and they set off for space. And this is about at the 32-minute mark. I think that's when I checked, it was at 32 minutes we finally got in space. I was kind of surprised by that. Like, we get into space very quick. This movie does not...
Oh, the first act is really quick. We're really quick to getting things like the Gotengo up and running.
And that's something I do appreciate about this movie is it moves.
I mean, given a lot of, like, this whole, like, beginning section is things that, you know, have been seen before in other Toho films, I think it's good that it does do that and doesn't just waste time on them.
That's actually a great point because, like I've said, like, there's plot conveniences everywhere. We've had a love triangle. We had the Atragon. So, like, it was really smart of them to do that. Like, that's... I would dare to guess they kind of knew what they were doing.
Maybe.
So they go into space, and just like in Battle in Outer Space, one of the scenes in that movie that stands out to me is when our main crew goes to space, and they see the wreckage of the space station, and like there's a body that's floating with it. We get something similar. We have a piece of the space station that's just floating. It's not as good as Battle in Outer Space, but, you know, it's late 70s Toho sci-fi. It's not going to be as detailed as the late 50s were. But they stop to see if there's any survivors or anybody they can pay respects to. And the person that was on the teleprompter telling them that the space station was being attacked, they find his body.